Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Newington Town Council regular meeting of Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Please rise if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll move into roll call now, please.
Councilor Braverman,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Budraco,
Here.
Councilor Camillo,
Here.
Councilor Donahue,
Here.
Councilor Mankey,
Here.
Councilor Nagel,
Here.
Councilor Page,
Here.
Councilor Rada,
Here.
Mayor Del Buono.
Here. Thank you, Susan. Next item this evening is approval of the agenda, and I believe we have just a couple of small changes. Councilor Mankey?
Yeah, if I may, I would like to propose we move 5A proclamations up under right between 3 and 4. And also on new business 12 adds 12C, neglected cemetery account grant programs for 2024.
Okay, so we have two changes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Donahue. Any discussion on these? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Sharon's acknowledging, I see her online with her hand. All right, so we will move now into, we moved awards and proclamations to the beginning of our agenda. We have with us this evening a proclamation honoring the retirement of Marie Fox, our Democrat Registrar of Voters. I will say before I begin that we had planned on doing this proclamation back in December, and Marie was not feeling well. She was ill at the time, so we had postponed the proclamation to January in hopes that she would be able to join us. And quite sadly, Marie has since passed away and is no longer with us and able to be here this evening. So we do have her family here to represent and to receive the proclamation. And we did actually read it at her memorial service last a week ago Saturday. So we would like to do it officially this evening, get it on the record and vote on it and make it official. So I will begin by reading the proclamation. Whereas Marie Fox was appointed as the Democratic Registrar of Voters on July 25th, 1990. And whereas Marie, during the last 32 years, has ensured that all voters within the town of Newington have had the ability to exercise their constitutional right to vote on all measures affecting local, state, and federal issues. And whereas Marie was instrumental in the training, setup, management, and accurate reporting of all election information to the town clerk and the secretary of the state, ensuring that all votes were counted. And whereas Marie, jointly with the office staff, managed 8 presidential elections, including presidential preference primaries, 9 gubernatorial state elections, and 16 municipal elections, and several standalone referendums on various issues. And whereas Marie received her certification as an elections administrator from Briarwood College, and due to her strong work ethic, continued to train on elections procedures in an ever-changing landscape of rules and regulations. And whereas Marie has advised the town through 3 mandatory redistricting cycles while always being aware the impact that those changes have on the electorate. And whereas Marie was a member in good standing of the Connecticut Registrar of Voters Association, ROVAC, where she also served as the Harford County Chairman through 2012. And whereas the Registrar of Voters, to ensure that elections were protected, designed an emergency contingency plan for elections in 2013 to address possible impacts from Storm Sandy. The existing plan was again revised to address the impacts of COVID-19 during the 2020 election cycle. And whereas Marie was at the front lines in the November 7th, 2006 election as one of the 25 towns testing the use of optical scan voting machines as a replacement for the older lever machines, knowing that the use of a physical ballot was important to ensure the integrity and security of the election system. Those same machines are still in use today throughout the entire state of Connecticut. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Beth Del Buono, on behalf of the Newington Town Council, hereby recognize and extend our sincere appreciation to Marie Fox for her professional service and dedication to the town and its electors, and wishes her the best in her retirement, dated in Newington, Connecticut, this 10th day of January, 2023. Signed by myself, Beth Del Buono. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Braverman. Thank you, Sharon. And I'll open it for council discussion. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Yes, reading about, enjoying her retirement is so sad that she was not able to do that. But what I want to say about Marie is in her recent campaign, she used the words honesty, integrity, and experience. These were not just campaign slogans or words. These words described her tenure as a registrar of voters over 32 years. Registrar of voters requires ethics and requires following the directives and the law of the position, to be current on changes and doing what's right by the office, and staying always apolitical and carrying out those duties. She was elected and served protecting the rights of all voters, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, Red Party, whatever, and carrying out her duties. So to her family that's here tonight and might be watching, first of all, sincere condolences. She will be missed. But you also should be proud of her, proud of the legacy that your mom left in this town, in her accomplishment as a registrar of voters. She did what she felt was in the best interests of the people of Newington, all of the voters, regardless of party. And she also did what she felt was in the best interest of the position. And she didn't let politics interfere with carrying out her sworn duties as registrar. So she left quite a legacy, and you should be proud of her.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Counselor Mankey.
Yeah, just I would offer my condolences to the family. I hate to disagree with you, Mayor, but you said she's no longer with us, but I will see her whenever I enter this building. I'll see her in her red jacket and her election day beads. I will see her at every poll, and she is with us. The things he implemented to take our voting system to the next level, it will be with us forever. I think the best words I can say about it is, I think last year about this time when we were having this controversy about redistricting, the words that stuck with me is, I love the voters of Newington.
Mm-hmm. And
I think those are her words, and that's what I'll remember. She loved the voters of Newington. And I think she emphasized that or lived that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Donahue.
My condolences to the family. I got to really know Marie 2 election cycles ago when I was voluntold that I was going to run for council. And my only regret is I didn't get to know her sooner. Out of her element, she was a pistol. She was a, and the good part is you knew exactly where you stood. And I have to agree, she didn't care, Republican, Democrat, whatever. She loved the people of Newington, and she just wanted to always do what was best for them. And I hope we can carry on the same tradition.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nagel.
I would like to offer my condolences as well after hearing so many at the wonderful celebration that was held in her honor, and others that have come forth to me and in public about her great service to the town. And as others have mentioned, her qualities as a human being, to put political differences aside, to treat everyone fairly. Having known her for the past 15, 20 years, mostly in terms of running for office, she has always been above board, honest, and a caring person for everyone, no matter who their political party may be, and putting any differences aside and treating all of us as human beings. and she will be greatly missed. And as others have said, her memory will live on. And we hope that you, those of us that are here, will keep in our hearts the memories in terms of what she has done as the wonderful person that she was. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I would just like to add to the family, you have our sincere condolences. And, I've known Marie for many years, and before I really knew her personally, my mother passed away in 2020, and years ago, my mother came in and she said, "Oh, I met a lady today and she knows you." And I said, "Really? Who?" And she started to describe Marie, and she said, "I think her name's," I said, "Oh, I know who you mean. You mean Marie Fox." She met her at the hair salon, beauty parlor, as they called it, right? The beauty parlor. And they were chatting every time they were there. And somehow they developed this little friendship just from the beauty parlor. I don't know. But my mother just couldn't get enough. And every time she saw Marie, she'd make sure to report back to me, "Oh, Marie said this, and she said you're doing this," and so it was kind of funny. My mother developed a relationship with her even before I did, even though I knew her, and certainly over the last few years being on the council and then being elected mayor, I got to know Marie more. And I got to go into the registrar of voters office, here and there, and to see her in action and to see the amount of knowledge that she has regarding elections and the history of it all. It's just amazing. When you saw her in action, it was really something to see. And any question you had, any even thought you had about elections, if you ran it by Marie, she knew if it had been done, hadn't been done, or could be done. She would tell you right off the bat. And she really was something. She was a force of nature in that office, and she never stopped learning. And I think that speaks volumes about her. She, while she had a great knowledge base, she never stopped learning and getting more and imparting that on those around her. She was the resource that everyone went to get that information. So she is going to be sorely missed. And those red blazers and the scarves and the beads and all of it. I'm hoping that some of the registrars will carry on that tradition because it's fun for sure. There are some more counselors with their hands up, so I'll yield the floor. But and I said this at her memorial, it was truly an honor and a pleasure to work with your mom. She was an absolute joy, and your wife and your grandma. Counselor Camillo.
Your mom was quite a lady. I met her a long time ago. And Mike, and I met Matt and Mark and the rest of you. Thank you for sharing her with us. And she's an asset that we're going to be lost without. Well, thank you again.
If the audience didn't hear that, Marie's husband Mike just said they didn't have a choice but to share her. Let's see. Counselor, I lost my page
Rada.
here. Counselor Rada.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my laptop yet again. But again, echoing what everyone else said, excuse me, my condolences. I did not know Marie well. I met her as I became a counselor, but she knew my mother, she knew my brother, and she knew many, many people in this community. So thoughts and prayers are with all of you.
Thank you, Counselor. All right. I don't see any other hands up on our side. So let's do the vote and I'll have the family come up for sure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Yes.
Public comments, seeing as we'll be going through two presentations
Yeah, we should
before
do
we
that.
get to there for this.
Yes.
On this.
Yes. All right, I'm going to open the floor to public comments on the proclamation only. We will have public participation later in the agenda as was posted. So any public that would like to come up and address the council can come up to the microphone. Just state your name and address for the record. If you are online, you can raise your hand, and we have had a hand up for a while. If that hand stays up, I'm going to assume it's for the proclamation. Do you mind if I just take the one that's online first? Thank you. Ms. Mazzacoli, are you here to speak about the proclamation?
Hi, yes, Susan Mazzacoli, address is now West Hartford, Connecticut, but 47-year living in Newington. Of course, I knew Marie. I go back in politics to 1988. I think Marie started in 1990. And we were on opposite parties. But one of the things that I remember the most was when I was first starting, I had so many questions. I just thought I knew everything, though. And sometimes I would say things that could embarrass people that I loved. But at the same time, I really became so super interested in everything to do with anything elections, politics. And going door to door, I would meet people too and say, are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? And that was like my duty, was to make sure that people registered to vote. And I had no problems at all saying, call Linda Coulter or call Marie Fox.
Mhm.
And so I just always appreciated the fact that I never had any concerns, because I was a Republican at that time, that, oh my goodness, am I going to have them call the Democrat? Are they going to get the same service? Of course they did.
Mhm.
And they did for many, many, many years, as we all know. And I just always considered her such a friendly person, always, very pleasant with me. I got invited to their anniversary one time, and I was so impressed with how close Mike and Marie were. It was something that I really admired. Only Marie could get me back. Now think about it. I was involved in politics from 88 to 2016. And then I retired. I didn't want to have anything more to do with it. I was burnt out. I was tired. I didn't want to know. I did go vote, but still that was all I did. And then all of a sudden, Marie decides to run again. And only Marie could get me standing outside in the cold on election day, holding a sign. And I was just so proud to do that. I also want to say thank you to Marissa for helping out your mom, being there for, a fellow employee, but also a great daughter, supporting your mom. And of course, all my best to Mike and all of your family. I am a proud citizen who knew Marie, and she will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzacoli. There's no other hands up online. Feel free to come up if you're in the room.
Teresa Avey, 71 Commonwealth Avenue, Newington, Connecticut. I met Marie many years ago. I knew she knew a lot. But when I became registrar, I walked into that office, and the first thing she taught me was, you leave the politics at the door.
Mhm.
And she told me that. Everything I have learned about how to run an election, how to run the registrar of voters office is from Marie. She probably forgot more election information, statistics, you name it, than I will ever learn in my time as the registrar. We had a ROVAC meeting today in Windsor, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me, people I didn't know, reminiscing about the Marie from back in the day at the conferences, and what you said, Mayor Del Buono, about the information, the state statutes that Marie knew is so true. She never had to call another registrar to say, hey, how do you interpret 36B-A or whatever? She knew it. And like I said, every day she taught me something. And that office will never be the same. I miss her dearly. There are days that I'm in there going, what do I do, Marie?
Mhm.
Give me a little sign. And for what it's worth, she's given me little signs. And I have been blessed to not only know her as a person, call her a friend, but as a mentor with everything I've learned. And it's true, she knew just about everyone, or if she didn't know you personally, she knew someone that you were related to, and she would tell you. And it was just the compassion and the love that she had for our voters will never be replaced. And I know people say, oh, never use the word never. No, in this case, it will never be replaced. She was an amazing woman, a mother, and a wife. And I am just grateful and blessed that I had the chance to see all the different aspects of that amazing woman. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. We do have a caller online with their hand up. This is public participation on the proclamation. Ms. Lyons?
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the memorial service for Marie that was held last Saturday, the Saturday before, and I just wanted to give my condolences to the family. I did speak to Mike personally, but once again, I cannot say enough about Marie. Whatever was said prior to my calling in is just minuscule to what she truly was as a person. She was really one special lady, and I don't think the family needs to be told that, and most of the town doesn't need to be told that. We all know it. She's a real sweetheart. She's going to be missed by many, and I just feel so badly that she wasn't able to hear the kind words that are being said about her. Once again, my condolences to the family, and that's about it. We love you, Mike, and if you need any one of us, I'm sure that we're going to be here for you. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Anyone else that would like to come up? Okay. I would ask that the family come up to receive the proclamation. Any and all. Any and all. Come on. I know that.
I couldn't take it because this except for grandson Joey's not going to be here, and I don't know, Jen wasn't feeling well.
Oh.
So on behalf of everybody, you know, thank you to the town council, and thank you, Newington. You know, about a year and a half ago, I got sick, and I tried sending out thank you cards for some of the gifts. I still haven't gotten. I mean, and now I have to start on these. But you know, this town is wonderful, and Marie is just one part of the town. And you know, she believed in that job so much. And Tim, I have to correct you, Counselor. She didn't say she loved the voters. She said, I quote, I loved my voters. They were her voters.
I didn't write that in my notes that way.
And, you know, it's reason, you know, I feel so kind of humble when you talk about this, but you know, we talk about home. You know, she was just an average student, but yet, you know, she like you said, there wasn't a part of Section 9 that she didn't know or couldn't go to almost right away and tell everybody what, you know, tell anybody who asks, you know, what they need to know. And when Teresa said that, you know, she told about politics being, that's a very stiff subject now, but that was her. That was her. She was a registered Democrat. She believed in the democratic philosophies. But when she walked in that door, well, not that door, the door over there, you know, that went out the door. So, Mayor, councilors, thank you very much for this. And, you know, we always appreciate it. You know, she left evidently she left a lot more of an impact than, you could ever think.
I'm hoping during that last election, she at least knew a little bit of the impact. I think a lot of people came out to support her that she may not have anticipated would. And I'm not speaking just about people here, I'm saying in general in town. And, I know there were people she wished had, but I think she did get a little glimmer into some of the lives that she touched that she didn't know she had touched.
Have to agree.
Mhm.
It surprised the heck out of me. I mean, I not to put her down, Lola. But there were so many more people than I ever thought of.
Yeah.
People that, who I thought maybe would say, good riddance. But no, they said she'd be missed. And it was such a pleasant surprise. And it's just an indication of the kind of town we have. And that goes back to, there I am rambling again. That goes back to leadership. Throughout the 40 some odd years that we've been here, I don't care, what you had before your name. If you served over here, and there's anybody watching, you are this town. You made this town what it is. And coming from Brooklyn, New York, it just sparkles my mind. So thank you once again.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, counselors.
Thank you.
I'm gonna hang on.
Okay, we're going to continue on now with our agenda. Next item this evening is presentations. We have two this evening. The first this evening is the annual update on blighted premises. And we have Eric Hinckley with us. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Last time it was done was September of 2020. I took over the position in October of 2020. When I did take over, I inherited a blight list of a little over 100 properties that I'm aware of that were on the list. Since that time, I have closed approximately 90 blight complaints off of that list, and obviously we receive others in the interim. We probably receive 30 to 40 a year, so it's kind of revolves. Since I took over, I've had 4 appeals of blight notices and 4 hearings. All of my notices and citations were upheld by the hearing officer. 3 or 4 different properties. What you don't see on the list is I've excluded just plain tall grass. It is considered blight, but I do get 30 to 50 of those a year. So that's, usually I can turn those over pretty quickly. Some people just wait late to start mowing. And, we understand that. The biggest issue with those properties is the ones that are in foreclosure and are being handled by out-of-state companies. And it takes time to track down who's responsible, et cetera, and for them to get a contractor out. So that can take some time. Not every complaint that I receive that comes in is flagged as blight. I get calls for somebody left, there's kids' toys all over the backyard. People are putting strange things in their trash cans, things like that. I mean, so when possible, I refer them to, the necessary department if there's something I can really do about it. Also, you'll see some of those departments, the sanitation department for furniture dragged to the curb, and somebody hopes that someone else will pick it up for them. We get a lot of calls on those right now, especially since they started charging for pickups, as we're all aware. So some calls I forward over there. Some are straight zoning complaints that I handle. Others for hoarding issues inside of houses, which I do not have purview over. They go to the Safe Homes Task Force, which I'm a part of, and we review as needed and take appropriate action. Another property you won't see on the list is 260 Stam Road. However, it was blighted, but we remediated that through a zoning enforcement action over the summer. And the town collected $24,000 in fines for that one. $24,000 that he paid. Yes. 17 junk vehicles. And that's still ongoing. We'll be going back there in February and trying to clean out the rest of the building. I would also like to point out that I'm currently the only town employee responsible for all of land use enforcement, which includes blight, zoning, and wetlands, in addition to my other duties. So, council and the public may not be aware of the time and effort involved to enforce various issues. Just as an example, like the process for blight is we receive a complaint. I have to go out and inspect it. If it is indeed blight, a notice of violation is issued, and typically they're granted 10 to 14 days to remediate. Obviously, if it's a huge issue, it's going to take much longer. If it's not taken care of, a blight citation is sent. Each one of those items can be appealed on its own. Any citation that's sent also has to be sent to every lien holder on the property. So anybody that has a mortgage or a judgment lien on that property also has to be notified of citations. That's by state statute. There's a property I'm currently working on. I have to notify 8 different companies because of all the judgments and mortgages. Once we go through that process, then I have a meeting and determination with the assessor, the finance director, myself, and the town manager, and they decide whether or not to proceed with remediation by the town. If they do, then a 10-day notice is issued to be placed on the blight list, and then a blight remediation order is issued for authorization of right of entry onto the property. Special assessment is issued. I find a contractor, because typically town forces can't do it, to clean up. And then following the remediation, an invoice is set to the property owner with a time frame for payment. If they choose not to pay it, we file a lien. And sometimes those liens, I have one that I was contacted just a couple weeks ago. It was started when Mike D'Amato was still here. They're foreclosing on the property and like, well, what do you want to do with this $8,700 fine? So, so here we are. So that's kind of a rundown of different aspects of what's been going on. You have the list in front of you as well. If there's any questions I can answer, feel free to ask.
Let me just see, there's Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Yeah, I can attest to how busy Mr. Hinckley is. So just a couple questions or things I've noticed going through the list. A majority of these on the list, it seems that a lot of them were started in 2020 and they're still open.
Some of them are, I've been playing catch up. So I've been, between all the duties, if it seems like a very innocuous kind of thing, I'll go by and take a look at it. A lot of them don't seem like an issue. And then usually over the winter, I'll go back and I'll try and pull some of these other ones off that don't appear to be a blight issue anymore. I know there's still a couple on there that have, pile of debris or tall grass. And I'm just like, I just haven't had time to get them all off of the list. There are some other more serious ones, yes. And some of those have been turned over to Safe Homes Task Force as well.
And then it seemed to be in litigation. How many are in litigation now, do you know?
Currently, we have two properties, same property owner.
Okay. So we anticipate at some point, once you do get some assistance or a free day or whatever, some of these will be coming off this list and not open anymore.
Yes, I believe so. There's a few there that are certainly can come off, and some of them are also ongoing issues. There's actually been a couple of properties that doing further investigation, I was advised by the police department not to even enter on the property without police escort because they're aware of other issues. So that's something else I have to, kind of be aware of at times.
Yeah, for sure.
And I do, I think it's good that you are working with human services to, in areas or instances where there's other type of assistance needed. And it's not just a blight issue, it's other issues with the household.
And yes, and honestly, a lot of probably 50% of the notices I send out, no one ever calls me and say, hey, what's the problem or anything. It's just kind of like, well, if they don't bother me anymore, maybe I won't hear from them anymore. Some do, and some are, kind of maybe unaware, but they, some general cleanup and stuff, which is helpful, but other times it's just bang your head against the wall.
I know Maple Hill is a long street, but it does seem that
What's wrong with
there
those
seems
people?
to be. From a
From a resident who lives there.
There's a couple,
Yeah.
a lot of, more properties on that particular street than some of the others, so. And I, once one property goes, another one and another one, and it does impact the neighborhood, so I'm glad that with revision to the, blight ordinance, I'm glad that the town is putting emphasis on it, because it's not just, being a pain in the neck, and like you said, oh, the grass is long. I mean, there are serious health issues. It does impact an entire neighborhood, and it could impact the family that's living in a blighted property that's not aware of the health issues. So thank you for your efforts on this.
Counselor Nagel?
I have a couple of questions to ask. And they refer in part to what Councilor Pedraco had mentioned. One of them does at any rate. I've noticed it doesn't list in the column that any of them are closed or have been rectified. And I know for a fact that at least a few have been and gone way beyond just rectified. In the case I'm most personally involved with, and you said there are family issues. It's not just not taken care of, that indeed the property has been cleaned up, things have been brought out. As a matter of fact, the property has been sold. There's other people in there, and it's just wonderful what eventually happened in terms of you working with human services to rectify the problem. Can you tell me how many on there, maybe an unfair question, are closed? Because I know one of them is, that was in.
I think I mentioned earlier, I've closed about 90 since, and there's a separate tab on the spreadsheet. I don't think it's available here, but I do list the closed properties.
I assumed you did, but it seemed like someone just looking at it like tonight, the public looking at it, that none of them say closed on the column. That's,
Open list.
Could you give us an update at some time, not necessarily here, as to what ones are still open or not? I also realize that some of them are seasonal, as we've referenced, that, spring comes and all of a sudden the grass grows and the problem that was thought was rectified happens again. Also, there is a blight subcommittee, and the committee has not met in a long time, and I believe this time we've not met, at least have an initial one. There are questions about the purpose of it or not purpose of it. I've been on previous ones from quite a while ago, and just was wondering whether you were aware of it or under what circumstances might you or the town manager call for us to meet. It's become unclear to me what the situation is with that committee. I know we all want to go to more committee meetings, but still, it might alleviate some questions that the whole council might have that you're knowledgeable about for a subcommittee to meet, and then you wouldn't have to come up here and give a lengthy presentation as you did tonight.
That's fine. I think, I can discuss any potential issues with the town manager, and if we deem it necessary, we could certainly set meetings with the subcommittee and, maybe, look at the ordinance and see if anything can be tweaked to make things run smoother or, stuff like that.
My point was to say, there is a committee that's available aside from coming just to the council, and under whatever circumstances, I think it's important that we meet because many residents of the town think it's blighted or it's not blighted. And there are many different circumstances you mentioned before that go into the details of it and also the correction of it. And there may be more things to look at, and it may be more efficient for you if we are utilized when necessary. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Hinckley. And just,
No
can
problem.
you just say again what you're responsible for in the town? What are your different duties?
Currently,
Yeah.
I'm the acting town planner, the wetland agent, the zoning officer, the blight officer.
We're in some transition, obviously, with staffing, but that aside, when we're not in all this transition, are your level of responsibilities commensurate to other towns our size? Or do we need to look at that in terms of staffing?
I think depending on how the town would like to go going forward, that an enforcement officer, whether it's a part-time shared position with a building official, I think that is something to definitely look at, so I can concentrate more on assistant town planner position and economic development, which is, I also work on that as well.
Okay.
I think that would certainly be helpful going forward. Obviously, that's a decision at your level, but some towns have it. Some towns just have a plain enforcement officer that's not an assistant town planner. That's their job. So they do wetlands, they do blight. So it depends on the level. And obviously we have to have the support from council, town manager, town attorneys, all that stuff comes into play.
We obviously have an obligation to the taxpayer to steward our resources well, but we want to also govern responsibly and make sure we're at our full capacity to take care of the needs of our town. So thank you very much. And thanks for this detailed report and all of your hard work. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Counselor Mankey?
Yeah, just again, thank you for coming. I appreciate the update. I've also often heard that blight is only effective if it's in the front yard or visible from the street. Is that the case? So I can have a messy backyard, but a clean front yard?
So I just can't, like anything else, I just can't go marching onto people's property.
Right, yeah.
To look over fences and peek through windows and stuff like that. So yes, the initial drive-by is from the street. And there's certain telltale signs that you look for potential hoarding as well. Neighbors sometimes will invite me onto their property to look over fences, but even that is, there's a person on a particular street like, well, if you go up my upstairs window and you lean way out on the side, you can look around the corner, you can see it. Yeah.
That's not really.
So there are houses that I get, complaints about, and you drive by and there really isn't anything visible to the eye that would necessarily constitute a blight or a zoning violation or anything like that. So sometimes it's a judgment call, and sometimes you can knock on the door and have a conversation. And there are also, as we're all aware, people like, it's my property, I can do what I want. So try and keep the delicate balance and keep everything in harmony as best we can.
Yeah, a thankless job, because you never knock in the door to say, hey, your place looks great. Love the flowers.
Whether I'm there for zoning or blight or
Yeah,
wetlands,
so
it's like,
bad news.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Eric, can you just, I know I get emails from residents complaining about residences or blight conditions, and I always just forward them on to either James or you directly. And part of what I think people complain about is that sometimes these complaints are very open for long periods of time, right? And I kind of understand from our perspective that you're looking for people to make progress toward a goal.
Right.
But if you could just speak to that a little bit so the public kind of understands that a lot of times people are expecting an immediate.
Absolutely.
fix. Yeah.
So like I said, the 10 to 14 day time range is on the initial notice.
Mhm.
And when the people I do have contact with, I tell them I want to see progress of some sort.
Right.
If there's progress, we're going to get along fine. We have an end game.
Okay.
Sometimes there are people that you can tell you have to task them very small tasks each time.
Mhm.
And yes, that does take longer. And sometimes there's other issues that arise. And sometimes I may have to get human services involved, whatever.
Right.
And then it becomes their case, they're working with it as well. So,
Yeah.
it's not just me at times, it can be human services, helping out as needed. And other things. They have some good programs. They work with some churches. They get volunteers out there sometimes to take care of stuff, do some just trimming of yard stuff like that, stuff that they can just easily haul away. There's a case I had where they went out and they're like, there's no way we can do this. We need heavy equipment. And I completely get it. So, those are the kinds of problems we run into.
Okay.
And
If there's expense to any of the fixes or changes that need to happen too, it depending on the person's personal circumstance, that could be a hardship as well. So we have
Absolutely.
to have some ability to work with people to get them there, I guess. But
another bigger issue in town that falls under both zoning and blight is, abandoned unregistered vehicles. What I've also done is I've created a list of approximately 10 to 15 of these companies and different agencies that will come pick up abandoned cars. Some of them will take them without a title, some won't. And I just have the list and I just give it to people. And some of them say, wow, that worked out really well and the car's gone. So hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Others like, well, I want to get some money for it. And I'm like, well, you just have to deal with them. I can't help you, but at least
right.
trying to give them some other options that they either didn't think of or haven't utilized.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any other council comment or question? All right, thank you very much for the update. We appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Next item this evening is a presentation on the Anna Reynolds School project. We're looking just for an update. I know Chairman Woods is with us, I believe.
He is.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I
Absolutely.
appreciate the time and Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
It is a pleasure to be here and hopefully you can hear me fine. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So occasionally I come in and give you an update on the progress of where we are in construction. As you know, the actual construction of the renovation of the school started right after school was dismissed this past summer and has worked right through the summer into the fall and obviously into the early stages of the winter. Through the summer months when the children were not in the school, a lot of the infrastructure was done around the site. So new drainage, new electrical service, like the main power coming into the building is brought into the building. The new configuration of the parking lot is all boxed out. It is now done in its first stage of blacktop, so it will get completed in the spring. But those are the kind of things around the site. Most of the site work is probably, I'm going to say 65, 75% done. Then the building is split up into different phases of the wings that we have. And the team right now is continuing to work on what we refer to as AC wing, which is the administration wing. And again, if you're familiar with the school, which I'm sure most of you are, the old kindergarten wing. So the wing right behind the administration that kind of goes up to the northwest, that section. Good news is that we are still on budget. We have lagged behind schedule-wise, and I'll touch on that now. Most of our schedule delays to this point have all been caused by material delays.
Okay.
And I believe we are just about through that. I think, well, actually, you'll see as we progress through this that some of it is design also, but most of it is material delays and getting the electrical service. Just to give you an example, the new electrical service which will be the switch gear, the big panels and stuff that go in the building. That's, believe it or not, it's a worldwide shortage. I work with large companies, Gilbane, and Skanska, Consigli, those kind of outfits. Every job that I'm on, every school that I'm on, electrical is one of the big problems. I wish I had an answer to tell you why. I don't understand it, but nonetheless, it's real. Good news is we're just about through that part of it. We had some issues with the building. If you remember, I think I was in front of you a while back, 2-3 months ago. We're going to have some precast concrete panels that will be made, and they're the lower part of the building. So from the windows down to the ground, there was just some issues getting those designs and how they're gonna get fastened to the building. Because again, it's, the building was built in approximately 1955, 54. When you start taking it apart, there's some things that you just didn't anticipate, and they've got to come up with new ways to fasten that. But they've worked through all that. Good news to that again is those issues will keep on repeating themselves, but we have the problem solved. So there won't be any issues moving forward with these panels. And you're going to see that with a lot of the things that we have already tackled. We were going to hold off on the roofing. If you've been up there lately, the roof on A and C wing is actually being ripped off in the last 2 days. It will be back on probably in another 5 to 7 days. So the new roof is going on. They are starting to do finishes in the A and C wing. The next time that I do come in front of you, what I'll do is have pictures for you so you can actually see the progress. Still, I don't want to say it looks like a mess, but it still looks pretty much like a construction site. But we have a great team. They're working really well together. The Board of Ed has gone way out of their way to make any sort of adjustments that they needed to so that we can keep on schedule. And again, I guess the best news that I have to report to you that we remain to stay on budget. We've had, a few minor tweaks here and there. There's been some change orders, but they've been very minor in nature, considering the scope. We have completed approximately 18% of the project, and that's what I'm taking numbers off of our payment app. So we've paid for 18% of the project. I mean, realistically, we're probably somewhere between 20 and 22% now. And again, we've used very little of our contingency fund, as well as the construction manager has a contingency fund that they manage up until the end of the project. And if it's not needed, it kicks back to us, to the town. And they have used, I think there's somewhere around actually I have it here right in front of me. They have $582,000 in there, and they've used 44,000 of that.
Oh, wow.
To date.
That's great.
So, yeah, again, it's a great team. We really do. We have people who are willing to put everything aside and work together to get this project done for obviously the taxpayer of the town of Newington, for you, the ones that are allowed us to go ahead and move forward with this project, and most importantly, the kids that go to this building. So I think, again, have me back in another month and a half. AC wing will be turned over February 24th. The second wing is B wing is where we're going to go next, which is again, northwest wing. It's the one that runs north to south on the upper level. And that will start construction as soon as we move the kids into AC wing and the administrative office staff back into there. And that is due to be completed by the end of the summer, which gets us kind of back on track again. I don't think I said this yet, but one of the most important things here too, while we did lag behind here a little bit in the beginning, the end date has not changed. Everybody is confident that we're going to meet our completion date right now. So some of the snags that we've run into to date, they're not going to hold us back, and we'll be able to pick up some of this time as we move forward. So again, it's been a pleasure working with all the people. I work obviously with Councilor Camillo and Councilor Rada from the town council, and they've been obviously very instrumental in helping us through this. And if you have any questions of me, I would be happy to try to get you an answer or give you an answer.
I was waiting to hear when you said you were lagging behind, and I'm reminiscing back to town hall. It was weather back then, and knock on wood. We're doing okay right now, but
yeah, the weather's kind of scary. I mean, you guys haven't had winter up there yet. I mean, it's just nuts.
I'm afraid for when it's going to hit.
Yeah, well,
but
we're inside, so it's not that important to us right now.
Good. Councilor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Just one question, just so we can update everybody in town. Commissioner Woods, what is the target date for completion? And I know this can be a moving target because stuff happens, but what are we shooting for?
So it is August of 24. So when the kids start school at the end of August, I don't know that exact date at the top of my head, but it's for the start of the school year of 24.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you and everyone involved for all of your hard work on this. We all really appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Counselor Page.
Any other council comment or question?
No.
All right, just thank you, Steve, for being willing to come in and give us another update. We appreciate it. So glad
Okay.
things are going on, getting going. And it sounds like the students are responding positively too, from what I've heard. There's a lot of shifting and moving and.
It is. It's been a good experience for the kids too. We have problems, but we're working through them. There's nothing
Yep.
major. I'm not coming back to you, and you're the only place I have to go. So if it does hit the fan, you guys will be one of the first ones to know about it. I do not anticipate that at all. But trust me, I know where to go if I need help. I'm back to you.
Okay. Great.
And
Thank you.
again, Thank you
Steve.
for trusting me as well as the entire building committee with this project. We
Absolutely.
We'll do the best we can.
All right.
for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Thanks. All right. Next, we did the proclamation. So next we are on to public participation. No, what did I miss?
Something like what, the cemetery?
No, that's down below.
Oh, sorry.
That's under new business.
Looking forward to the end.
That's 12C. 12C.
All right, we are at public participation. Any member of the public may come forward. If you're in the room, come forward to the mic and state your name and address for the record. Come on forward. And if there's anyone online, you can raise your hand and we will take turns between the room and online. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Page, about Berlin Turnpike, the new streetlights.
Can you state your name and address for the record, just?
In Allwood Road,
Okay,
Newington,
yes,
previous to 11 Hall Street.
okay.
Going down the Berlin Turnpike, most of the lights are off center. A lot of them are off center to the left. If you're in the left lane, and the light is crowding the left turn lane, there's gotta be an accident. I know that the DOT is probably in charge of the whole thing, but they're not gonna listen to me. So I thought I'd come here and have the big guns in Newington go after.
Yeah.
Not only dangerous. When you're driving and you see the shining light, I mean, it's not brain surgery that the light should be in the middle of the lane. And it's not. Even the entrance, if you're coming up Main Street and getting on the Berlin Turnpike, those lights aren't centered. I'm not sure what you're gonna do with it, but I know, I just felt I had to come and tell somebody.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
We don't dialogue with public, but we will perhaps comment afterward, after everybody has a chance to weigh in. We have Ms. Lyons on, so Ms. Lyons, go right ahead.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. This is one quick question, the others are a little bit more involved. I'm just wondering if or ever we'll be able to see the town council versus the participants on the NCTV screen. I'd like to see who's speaking and the expressions on their faces, even the people that are coming up to the table. It's very hard to see with the Zoom application, but in any case, that was just one question. As far as the blight report, I was glad to see that on the agenda. I sat through numerous town council meetings, and I believe that the subcommittee on blight was created in order to revise the blight ordinance, and I don't think it's been looked at in a while. Maybe it's something that should be looked at, and I have not looked at the ordinance myself prior to tonight, but I thought it was required that the blight be reported to the town council once a year. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be confidential as to the addresses or not, but I also seem to remember that it was a town manager's office responsibility, not the town planner. But I have been told that during Tanya Lane's tenure, it was turned back to the town planner, I believe. I'd just like to advocate for that office. It seems to me that there's an awful lot on one person's plate, and I know there's an interim between the planner leaving and a new planner coming on, but even when the planner was there, it seemed with the economic development and everything else that's happening in this town, and there's a lot of projects going on that, to me, in my opinion, more people are needed, and I hope that there's going to be some review of these offices now that new people are coming in to see exactly what needs to be done. The blight is one issue, zoning is another, and trash, such as people discuss on Facebook, is another. Batteries on the roads, trash bags on the street, people wondering who's in charge of cleaning up, people putting their furniture to the curb. I used to be able to call the highway department and report a street and say that a mattress has been at the curb for 2 weeks, and they'd take a look and see if it was on their list for pickup. But now that's a trash away issue, and it's not as easy to report these things anymore, and people don't know where to report them to. There seems to be just people are being so disrespectful these days, in my opinion, and I think others as well. So maybe we can have some kind of a review. Something could be on the website to say, if you have a problem with this, go here. If you have a problem with that, go there. Or just dump it all on James. I'm sure he doesn't have much to do these days. Just kidding, folks. Speaking of the town manager, I know that the informational hearing or the meeting is on Wednesday. I hope to attend. I'm just surprised that there's not an actual job description. This is about the second, I think this will be the second public information input into a town manager's position as to what we'd like to see. I don't know that there's any educational requirements. I think it just is based on what the town council wants to see, and I'm just curious as to what the job description is going to look like when it goes out for public to have applicants apply. And the thing that caught my attention, I'll see my red light is going on here. The other night or last night on the Talk to the Mayor show, the mayor mentioned that you could write into the contract, the town council could write into the contract that the town manager, even though there's no residency requirement in the charter, that it could be written into their contract. Maybe these are questions I'll have to ask on Wednesday night, but I wanted to get it on the table for tonight as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. I think we are all set. There's no one else raising their hand, so we will continue. We did not receive any email correspondence. So next item is remarks by counselors on public participation. Counselor Page.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just, first I want to thank in advance Acting Town Manager James for looking into this gentleman's concern about the lights. I know we had spoken, I think you and I had corresponded. You've been just a little bit busy, and I explained that to the gentleman, and I think he appreciates that.
Yeah.
And I also explained that is the purview of the state, not the
Unfortunately.
town. And it's shocking that the state would have not done something correctly. So let's make note of that. But
Yeah, first time ever that it happened.
Right?
Oh, my goodness.
no, but I'm sure we can address that. So, and just the other question I would have for ongoing reflection is, as our previous caller just mentioned, is what is the impact of the rescission of the, I don't know what we call it, automatic pickup of items on the curb, which I believe when that was changed, that policy was changed a couple of years ago. One concern expressed by some residents was that it would potentially impact items being left strewn about here, there, and everywhere, or illegal dumping. And I don't have any data to suggest that it has increased or not, but I think it is helpful just to reflect on that and find out if in fact that needs to be reconsidered. I know it's a budget item. I know it was going up, and I know we want to make sure our budget's responsible, but we also have to look at quality of life in the town. And if that's an unintended negative consequence, maybe we need to at least revisit that at some point. And that's all I've got. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Well, actually, I was going to ask James to forward on to DOT the gentleman's concerns. So I'm glad that anyone. And also just regarding the trash issue, I did see some of the dialogue on Facebook and people throwing a bag of garbage out the car window on Constance Lee, or dumping a battery on, Market Square. I find it hard to believe that that's due to the fact that we don't have bulk pickup anymore.
Well, we do have bulk pickup.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the pay, but I mean, that's just people that's not even a bulk pickup item.
Right.
That's just pure laziness or disrespect or whatever.
Mhm.
And I know there has been, again, dialogue, or But as Councilor Page said, maybe it's time to revisit it, but the fact of the matter is, we do have bulk pickup. The fact that somebody has to pay for it, well, in essence, whether it's free or not, somebody is paying for it.
Correct.
Whether it's the town taxpayers, whether I'm paying for Beth throwing out her stuff, or Beth is paying it for herself. I mean, and we talk about quality of life. Well, quality of life, to me, a lot of it starts with the residents and the citizens of this town, which means being respectful in terms of how you dispose of your trash and your waste. So it goes both ways. It's not the town's responsibility, I don't think, to be responsible for quality of life. Quality of life means being a good citizen and respectful of your neighbors and doing what you're supposed to do in terms of trash, traffic, speeding, whatever goes on in this town.
Thank you.
If I may, I'll just address some of that. What will usually happen if we find out that there is some trash that's been dumped somewhere that we can't tie to a bulk pickup issue? Eric will usually contact the highway department and confirm there isn't one attached to that. They'll go out. If they can inform a homeowner on that this isn't how it's handled, direct them to the correct location, they will do that. Otherwise, we'll usually take care of it on our own to ensure that it's gone from the site. So if you do run into those, please pass them along to myself or to Eric, and we will have those taken care of.
Deal. Thank you. Councilor Mankey?
Just to respond to Ms. Lyons' comments about the blight, there is a committee, I'm not sure who's on it, to be honest with you, but there was a committee that met about 3 years ago, I believe, and went through all the ordinances with the enforcement officer at the time, and we did update all those ordinances, but it wouldn't hurt to have that committee meet again just to get a report, maybe more in depth from Mr. Hinckley. Whoever's on that committee I'm sure would love another meeting, but it would be interesting to just see if things have changed and if there are any tweaks we need to make to the ordinance to make it easier to enforce. And this may be one of those things we look at taking on with, I'm sure other towns have the same issue. And maybe this is another way with our 4 cooperating towns, we could form a task force and maybe get, half time from us, half time from somebody else, maybe. I'm sure other towns, the Weathersfield and Berlin and Rock Hill have the same issues we do. It's not unusual for us, I'm sure, but maybe this is someplace a regional enforcement would make a difference.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Nagel?
Yes, to follow up with what was just mentioned concerning blight. I have been on that committee before. I've had the privilege of residents having me look over fences and look from where their houses in the backyard were on high, could look down, and the whole problem with not being able to do anything because of what was mentioned before, that the town had to see it from the street. It was brought up, and it needs to be minded that it needs to be meet once again, and I'm sure I'll be privileged to attend that again. So I'm one of the people that's on that committee. Also, in terms of the lights configuration and the construction and putting up of those light poles and whatever, a year and a half ago, I met a resident during an election who happened to say he worked for the DOT and that he would be willing to come in and talk about the lights at that time. And at a council meeting, I did say that I had someone who would do that. And I suggested that someone, if not he, someone else come in and talk about it. I know that we have had people in facilities, highway, whatever, come in and talk in relationship to what the town knows. And there isn't too much that can be done. But I'm a little frustrated that we haven't had someone from the DOT to answer to these problems or explain these problems, even though we may not get an answer that will solve, for instance, what was mentioned by a member of the public tonight in terms of configuring the lights into lines. I know my wife, and I'm sure there are others who have driven, especially at night on the Berlin Turnpike, certain areas with the old lighting, let alone the new or lack of lighting, and have had to pay extra attention so they didn't turn into the wrong lane, going the wrong way, even though we've lived here, many of us, for quite a few years. So I strongly suggest that someone from the DOT come and explain what is actually happening there. And I hope that at some time the Blight Committee, if deemed necessary, meets, and that Ms. Lyons knows that it did come up before her question. And I'm aware of it, and we've doubly made it aware of both those things tonight.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Counselor Donahue?
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about blight because it's been exhausted. I just wanted to address the NCTV broadcast. We're picking up the feed from the Zoom meeting, same as you're getting it all. So if you're not on your camera when you speak, we won't see you. The cameras are limited in their focusability. So we are only picking up the Zoom feed. We are looking, to try to get back to some of the way it looked before, but it won't be that way because NCTV does not control the cameras in any of the meetings. But we're gonna try to improve it with some titles and things like that. So.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Camilla?
Since Lee and Cedar, if you're going east and you're in a big truck, you're about 50 feet away from the light before you can see the eastbound light. It's being blocked by the westbound light. And if you're in a car, it's even worse. So that really should be looked at. As far as talking about town administration and them wearing many hats, there aren't any people out there that want to do these jobs. And the way that our political thing is with all the towns around here, they don't want to be attacked by counselors or people in government. And it has to change. For us to get people back and want to do these jobs, they have to be treated better. So Weathersfield's having a problem, Rocky Hill and Newington. And we had an exodus just recently in our town, and part of it was political. It has to change. And we need to fill these seats, or everybody's going to be wearing a lot of hats. And we'll have to streamline things. And it won't affect the quality of life, just the workplace. And then it will when nobody wants to do these jobs.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to jump into the DOT conversation too. And I know the gentleman left already, but we're getting lots of complaints. It's not just one, it's not just his, it's, and I was gonna tell you this later, but I'll mention it now. The sign by Bob's Furniture, the striping on the street does not match the signage. And I had reported that a while back, and they had covered the sign and left the paint on the street the way the lanes are supposed to go, but the sign didn't match. I'm guessing that the cover that they had on the sign blew off or something happened, but it's not covered anymore. And the two don't match, so that could pose a potential problem. And a resident reached out to me today to let me know that that was an issue again. And then the Robbins Ave piece you and I have talked about, but the corner of Maple Hill and Robbins Ave, the way that they restriped those lanes, it doesn't line up, and you have to like make this last minute shift to not hit oncoming traffic. It's really silly. But again, not us.
Handling the project for us, but they should have still connected the main center lines together.
Right,
Yes.
right. So
they continue around the corner, yeah.
So just so everybody here and anybody watching knows, these are issues that we have been made aware of, but if there are others out there, let us know. And we'll continue to follow through. I know James has made a number of contacts on these issues, so.
One of the other, and I missed the first part of it, when you're going Maple Hill to New Britain Ave.
Yes.
They've changed that to a single lane.
Right,
And
but it
so-
doesn't line up.
Oh, I know that, but
Yeah.
so I live there, I go up that way all the time, and people are constantly going around me. Somebody's gonna get killed there on a
Yeah.
bicycle.
It's a huge concern. It really is.
You know,
Yep.
it's, and you get up by Elm Hill Pizza, I don't even know how they're gonna negotiate that. The bike lane continues straight and then the lane goes
And the
over
lane
here.
goes over, yeah.
I have a bet with the Elm Hill guy, so I'll let you know how it works out.
So there are plenty of issues. We are aware of some. So if there's more, let us know. All right, next item, there is no one else. Let's see. We are up to consideration of old business, item 8A. We have before us the 2023 annual regular meeting calendar. We had discussed this a bit previously, and I think there are still a few things that we were gonna look at, I think. So I'll open it up for discussion. Counselor Nagel, did you have something you mentioned?
I was curious, about April 6th. Looking on the calendar, that's the first, night of Passover. While I don't happen to be, Jewish, I think it is a problem that, we should recognize in terms of not having our, meetings on nights when those are celebrating significant, activities.
And we had discussed this, bringing it forward to council. The April 9th meeting is during school vacation, and we usually try not to meet during that April meeting because many folks can't participate, and it is budget season, and we want to make sure people have, or 11th, I'm sorry, April 11th. So we were looking or considering moving that to April 6th. So now we have to kind of go back and.
We actually timed out our proposed budget schedule based upon that. So
Right.
I will have to look at that schedule. Excuse me for one moment, because I actually have the Jewish listings going through 2027 in my old office.
Okay.
Is there a reason we're not doing Tuesday then?
It was the school vacation week is the following, the April 11th. So the April 6th meeting
all
was
right. Yeah,
for the
never mind.
purpose of budget. It was gonna be a special meeting
It's also it's the
for public.
public participation meeting.
Yeah.
The public hearing
We present
piece.
the budget,
Right.
and then we,
You also have 20 days from the public hearing to adopt your budget.
Right.
so there's a time, so if it moves, it has to move.
It's gonna shift, it's gonna shift the whole timeline, yeah.
So that does begin on April 5th at sunset. Okay.
So I would propose that at this point, we have to table it for this evening, most
Yeah.
likely, and let you all look at timelines. Does that make sense? James, Janet?
The 5th won't work either. If it starts at sundown. So then it would have to be
Tuesday, the
the
4th?
4th, Tuesday, but
Time to the regular meeting of the 25th to adopt.
Right, that's the
yeah,
one.
Right.
that's the problem. So
Right.
it's a moving target, I understand.
Yeah. So my recommendation on this at this moment would be I would ask you to strike the 6th and approve the schedule as is. That will allow us to have a regular meeting schedule started on February 14th. And we can go back and amend the April meeting once we've determined the proper schedule for the budget.
Okay.
Okay? We have a 30-day requirement. That's why we put the January dates into our schedule.
Mhm.
If we adopt the schedule on the 10th, we're set for the 14th of February with our 30 days. If we wait until the 24th, your first meeting in February would be a special meeting. So nothing could be added to that. But if we take action without the April 6th on there and come back and amend the schedule, we'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Counselors, are you amenable to that?
Just a comment that we're having a meeting on February 14th. The town provides divorce attorney advice because I want to go back and tell everybody it will be up on the 14th.
We'll try to make it a very short meeting.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
Our partners won't join us here in the council meeting?
Oh, no, that would not be a good thing either.
I don't know. My husband might send a thank you note. Just saying.
So yeah, I would just recommend we strike the 6th off and just adopt it as it is, then we can amend it later.
Okay. All right, so we do have the motion in the packet. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko, do you want to read that in? Let's go there.
Sure. Resolved, the Newington Town Council, in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, hereby approves the 2023 Town Council regular meeting schedule as amended as attached to this resolution.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Any other Concerns noted? No? Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thought we'd cut all those.
I know. No, and we looked at it last time too, so it happens.
It's not like you got nothing else to do, Jack.
Okay, next item this evening is resignations and appointments. We have this evening an appointment to the Permanent Municipal Building Commission. Counselor Menke?
Resolved, the town council hereby makes the following appointments: Permanent Municipal Building Commission, Alan Bongiovanni, Public Trades Member, 170 Barnhill Lane, Party R, 1/10/2023 to 11/30/2023.
Is there a second?
It's only a month.
No, it's from January to November,
During November.
right?
Yeah, it's the 1-year term.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Seconded by Counselor Page. Any discussion?
I would just, man,
Yes.
I would just add that my apologies to our James and this council that our caucus is well aware of the need for other nominations. We're meeting, it's not Tuesday, we're meeting Thursday evening, and we should have those forthcoming after Thursday. So my apologies for the delay, and we're working on it.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for the update.
I would just point out that we still have 2 more public trades members that, other than the party. So there's 2 more. So anybody out there that wants to get on the ground floor of the Permanent Municipal Building Commission, feel free to contact the town manager's office and discuss with them. And it's a great concept. I think we just need people to fill those positions.
We have one in the wings. He's determining whether or not he wants to step away from 2 other commissions at this time. We'll have a better understanding of that for the January 24th meeting.
Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item this evening is refunds. We have the approval of January 10th, 2023. Deputy Mayor Badrego?
Resolved that property tax refunds in the amount of $11,613.42 are hereby approved in the individual amounts and for those named on the request for refund of an overpayment of taxes certified by the revenue collector, a list of which is attached to this resolution.
Second by Counselor Rada. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item is the approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 7th, 2022 special meeting and December 13th, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Rada, seconded by
I'll second it.
Counselor Nagel. All right, any discussion? And we all look at Dave.
Dave, yeah.
Any discussion? No. Anyone else? No?
His name is the only one that gets spelled right in the whole thing.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are now on to new business. There are 3 items this evening. The first is the Town Council Budget Meeting Schedule 2023, and I'm going to turn it over to Janet Murphy, our Finance Director, is here. Welcome.
We're gonna kind of table this one because we were trying to work off the regular schedule and get you guys here as little as possible during this time. But just so you know, if you look at the schedule we did put together, that is our goal. Is you have 2 public hearings you have to have and presentations of all the budgets with a certain timeline that we have to do with them within. So I'll sit down with James. We'll discuss when we're gonna put another regular meeting and we'll move that around to try to also accommodate summer, the spring vacation for the school.
Okay. Does it
but-
have to be a regular meeting or it could be a special meeting?
Could be a special meeting,
Right,
so we
okay.
might get to that, but we were trying to, as I said, we've been trying the last few years to get it where we're not calling as many special meetings and they are just your regular meetings, so things can get a little bit more condensed and not have you guys here, you know, 4 times a week.
Okay.
Like it was when I originally got here. Yeah, that was, we saw each other a little too much. But this is the the schedule that we have right now that we're gonna kind of go with, just so you know, for review. It's similar to last year. There is one Saturday in here, that's 25th. That is a special meeting on that day. Besides that, we're gonna try to stick to regular. It might be a special one that we have to do for the public hearing. That we'll have to put together, and Mayor, you have to be here because that's your presentation. So
That is
we
mine.
we couldn't do it that weekend of vacation if we wanted to.
I know Gail looks raring to go for that.
So do we know when Easter is? That's not Easter, so.
No.
No,
Okay.
Easter is more the vacation week, I believe.
Okay.
At least
That's what I just-
I think that Good Friday is that Friday during vacation. if I
Okay.
remember right.
So you,
Okay, great, thanks.
oh,
So Good Friday would be the 7th.
Right after that. Okay. So I guess I'll go on to mid-year transfers, and we'll, as I said, we'll table this and get you some back. for
anybody
next
have any
week.
questions or anything on that? Well, otherwise we'll just look for the revised schedule.
I just have a comment that last week of going from March into the beginning of April, I will be away, but I've missed early on terms I had at the beginning, this explanation. We now have the video that I can look at and I can talk with my fellow counselors. So I just want to let you know up front that it's a commitment that I have that week, that it'll take me out of state. But I'm not going to say don't do it simply because I have
Yeah.
a commitment.
Can't do that anyways.
So nobody be offended.
Thank you, Dave.
You can stay, I'll go.
Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Last year was my first go around with the budget and it was a little overwhelming. It's a lot of information and I respect and applaud you and thank you, Janet, for all of your hard work. Wow, it's big. But one of the things, I'm sorry.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, my Lord, it's a lot. But one of the things I learned as I was in the process was that the previous town manager asked each respective department to give him a zero budget. And I was elected, as we all were, to make informed, intelligent decisions about our budgets and setting policy. And I don't think I was aware of it in real time as it was happening, because as Rumsfeld said, I had a lot of unknown unknowns. But now that I have a couple more known unknowns, I would ask respectfully to you and to our acting town manager to please not do that. Let's hear from all of our departments in town. Yes, maybe they have a wish list of wants, as Councilor Mackey makes the distinction between wants and needs, and others do. But then what do they really need, staffing wise and resource wise, to run this town responsibly? And then what would it look like if we zeroed everybody out? And then let's have those difficult discussions here with each other and with our various departments and with our leadership. It's going to make our job harder. It's a lot easier if everybody says zero budget. Oh, great.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. We might have said zero budget, but I can tell you right now, not a single department came in with a zero budget with a request.
I appreciate that.
So you can see the request when you look at the budget.
Right.
And that's why you can question the town manager's decision to not uphold that. And that's a good discussion point to have, saying they asked for this and why aren't they getting it? What was your rationale?
And what I would ask, if I were looking at each department, as I'm sure you all do, and I think we need to do, is tell us what you really need to run this town in a responsible way, and then provide evidence for that. And let's have informed debate and discussion and make this an appropriate budget wherever we end up after those very thoughtful, difficult, challenging discussions. So that's all I would request with respect to your very hard work and to the work of the acting.
We've already gotten the request out there. They're already in. We're already summarizing them to review with each department head. So that ball's already sort of rolled. But I have looked at them, and once again, I'll say, nobody came in with a zero budget.
Let's just have increases to have increase. I'm saying let's have informed discussion about what is needed.
And that's one of the discussions that the town manager has even before it gets to you.
Okay. Thank you
So
very
that is
much.
one of them, yeah.
Right,
And thanks
and that's part of our charter and part of the way business is done is that the town manager is, from a perspective, at least in my opinion, from a perspective of the daily operations of the town and kind of knowing in terms of budget as it moves along in conjunction with Janet, it's their job as staff to kind of say, we see the budget, we see what you've had and haven't had this year and what's needed or not needed, and we think you can do it at a 0, or we think, yeah, maybe a percent or a 2 or a 3 or a 5 or a 10. But that's, I think, why the way things have always been done in terms of charter. Also, it's been put in the hands of staff because on a daily operations basis, we as a council don't have any input in that, nor do we have the knowledge that would be required to know whether something was fully necessary or not. We rely on staff to kind of bring that forward as well. So, and like Janet mentioned, the requests from departments are listed. So if it didn't make the cut, we would have the opportunity to see it. And I know even when I was on the Board of Ed, they call them, I forget, PBSs or PBESs or something. They have a section in their booklet that is all the requests that came forward that didn't move forward to the actual budget. And we similarly have some of that information available as well. So, you know, and as you mentioned, it's already kind of, the horse has left the gate already, so.
That one already. So, but we do have them, and we'll be scheduling meetings with the department heads. Hopefully starting the end of next week and going
Possibly,
through-
yes.
Yeah, going through the end of January.
Goes on vacation.
Yep.
Counselor Camillo?
One thing is, if our revenue hasn't increased, you can't have an increase in your budget. Correct?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I
Well-
don't know that you guys ever adopted any policy.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, what we need to run the town is money, and if we didn't get an increase to the mill rate, where's the money gonna come from? So that's something to talk about also before we start talking about, you know, what departments want. Because there are departments that don't ever get anything that really need things. And our Board of Ed is bankrupting our town, just like it is happening in all towns. So we really have to keep that in mind. Wait till you see what they're gonna come up with. You think you were shocked the first time around, Mitch? Wait till this year comes through.
And I appreciate the dialogue on both sides right now but we're getting a little more into budget process and not sticking to the agenda item, which is the budget schedule that's before us. So I would just say, we can have plenty of discussions about the budget process as we move through, but for the purpose of tonight, let's try and stick to the.
No, I
to the
withdraw my
schedule.
question, then, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor
worries.
Madrigal, your hand is still up.
I was just gonna, I just want to make it clear that I don't think ever in the past has the budget process been approached irresponsibly or with uninformed decision making. I think.
If everybody's asked to
regardless-
zero out, it is, absolutely,
Well,
and it has been.
We're not
We're
gonna
not
dialogue.
get into
We
this
can't
dialogue
dialogue.
now, but I
Well,
quite
that's a
frankly
false
resent
statement.
the
You need
fact-
to be
I
recognized
resent
when
the
you're
fact
gonna speak.
that our staff is being maligned for the way that they've approached, because I think
No, the
this
past
town
town
has
manager.
been run appropriately, and let's move on to the way, and I have full confidence in our staff that we have now, that they're gonna approach the budget process responsibly, and will come out with a well-defined, well-thought-out budget for this next year.
Moving on, next item is mid-year transfers. Janet, you're here for that too.
Transfers. So yes, we did this last year. We do it again. We do it every January because we can't make any transfers till January between different departments. But I'm going to start, just kind of go, you have a section that shows where we're going to end the year for revenue. As I mentioned in the memo, looks like we're going to be about $2.6 million favorable at the end of the year for revenue. I'm very conservative when I do these. I don't like to overpromise you guys anything. So could it come out better? Yeah. Hopefully it won't come out worse.
Yeah, but this is the
Yeah,
worst part we're worried
This is,
about.
yes, this is the worst part we worry about. Just a couple highlights on here. First of all, I'll let you know tax, you'll see them. Now, if it's a positive number for variance at the end, that's bad for revenue, just so you know. The prior year levies, you'll see that we're gonna be below budget by about 150,000. That's due to some court cases that settled. These are appeals that were hanging out there from our reval. and they were substantial. So that affects the prior year because they paid in the prior year, so we have to give them back the refund against that revenue line. You'll also notice motor vehicles, we're gonna be a little bit unfavorable, 134,000. This is, I think, partially a result of the fact that this is a year where we got the cap on the motor vehicles. So we were trying to portion it out, figuring out where our variance would be. It's gonna be there. You will notice that come this year, when you look at the revenues, the motor vehicle cap that they imposed, we are not gonna get fully reimbursed this coming year. Next year. This year we did. For 2023-24 fiscal year, we won't. It's the same kind of thing we saw from the state when we did the manufacturing equipment. And it's so those numbers, when we start thinking about budget, you'll see them kind of shift a little also for next year, but that's what we're projecting for this year. The good news is, if you look down, you'll see the tiered pilots below. We're going to be favorable at 105,000. They increased the amount that they were going to give us from the proposed they've got. This is a reimbursement for those properties that we cannot tax that are considered tax exempt. So they give a little, they took a little. If you shift down to building permits, wow, this is a very conservative, once again, 900,000 to the good. The work that's happening around town is definitely bringing us in revenue already, in the building permit at least area. Investment income, that's favorable. I think it will be even more favorable. It depends on how the market goes. So I'm not projecting it, but I'm looking about 300,000 from that area. Town clerk, we actually increased their anticipated revenue this year from last year for budget. And they're gonna still, I believe, exceed that. Once again, a conservative number by about $100,000.
Can I ask one question about that?
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Page.
Thank you. Investment income, I know nothing about the market, so I'm gonna show my ignorance here. How are we doing better there when it looks like Wall Street's down about 22%?
So we don't put all of ours, a lot of ours are just in interest-bearing accounts.
I got you, okay.
So that is helping offset those losses that we're having in the market. We don't have a huge amount of our general fund in stocks and investment. More of the stuff we have for stock and investment in the market would be for our pension funds. But for the general fund money, most of that sits. And I'll tell you, I just finished the December review, and the account we have with the state investment, where we put a lot of our money in, that had a return of a little over 4% this past month, which we haven't been seeing that. And I didn't expect to see that. I expected if we got 2%, hey, yay, because we've been getting like 0.15. It'd been really low. So that is the good news for the general fund, is we don't have a lot of this in investment funds. We have about 2.5 million of the general fund that's in an investment. So all that interest we've been bringing in is offsetting any losses.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Councilor Megan, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. Just can you refresh the motor vehicle issue? Is this where we set the mill rate at whatever, and then our legislature said we're going to set it at a lower level, and last year they said they would pay us the difference, and going forward they're not going to pay us the difference, even though
they did this year pay what they consider to be 100% to make us whole.
Okay.
I don't think it made us whole. And next year they've got a gradual decrease in what they're going to reimburse us.
But this is something that this council has no control over. This is something that our state legislatures and the governor.
They took a huge jump. It used to be the mill rate cap for motor vehicles was 45 mils. They dropped it down to like 32 something, which is a huge drop. Originally, we were during budget time, we're thinking if they drop it down to 40, that's a big thing. And we were under that, so we didn't think it would affect us. Right. But they did go with the 32. So
this will affect us going forward the next budget year. So less income.
That's the next.
Less revenue. Okay. Thank you.
And one last big thing I wanted to point out on here is I did include in here for revenue, the 1.4 million for the sale of National Welding.
Okay.
So we're expecting that to happen, right, Jane?
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. We're expecting that to happen, so that will take place before the end of this calendar year. So that's my kind of review into revenues. The next section is expenditures, and this will kind of explain some of the transfer requests that I'm asking for. The first page just shows a status of expenditures by function. So most in total are going to be okay. But if you flip to the next page, you'll see by department. And this is where we're having a little bit, I'll have to be asking for transfers. The first one you'll see is the town council. This is due to the fact that I don't think we anticipated how much we'd have to pay for the notifications and the advertisements for charter revision. So that's what that has to cover. I'm anticipating, I believe in my transfer, asking for that amount, the $4,660 that the town council will come in over budget. Town attorneys is the next area that we're seeing a deficit in, and that's due to some of the labor issues we're having. I know that we've discussed. So, and I also did for next year when I started putting together this budget, I did increase that because the last couple of years we have seen an increase in that area. And I do know we have contract negotiations coming up. We're coming into the last year of the ASME contract, and the police contract, I think, is coming towards an end that we'll start being talked to them too.
Okay.
We don't have that one until 2026.
So we start talking to them
Yeah.
in the end of 24, heading into 25.
Okay.
And they have other issues they're looking for too.
Yeah, we are working on some other pieces with them right now.
Yeah.
One question. about that.
Counselor Page?
Just a question about the 20,000 for the town attorney. Is that money that's already been spent on litigating the labor complaints against the
No,
town? Or is that
that's-
allocated?
We have budgeted in the 25. We haven't gone over the 25,000 yet, but we're anticipating by year end, we will. And we will need the additional funds for that.
And I know, I think we've brought this up before in hopes that we could work on settling that so we're not costing the town.
That's a small portion of it, but there's been a lot of movement too with us working with the police too. And these aren't regarding grievances, but regarding some changes or updates to try to get retain the officers we have and to make it more favorable to bring in officers. They still have 5 vacancies right now.
Gotcha.
So that's been some of the discussion and some of the programs that the attorney's been helping us look through.
And just to clarify, even though the line item says town attorney, this isn't funds that go to our designated town attorney. We are using some outside counsel to handle certain issues, labor being one of them, so.
Being the biggest one.
It's
Yeah,
based
right.
on it.
The next area is personnel. Are looking for the $16,810. This is a lot of times, well, with the vacancies we have, we're experiencing some additional cost. Last year, we had to move money over for this to recruit and hire officers and everything like that. The polygraphs, the special exams, everything, like it adds up. And with 5 vacancies left, we're going to go through this. Because even though you do the test, sometimes it doesn't work out and you'll have more people we have to bring in. So that's the reason we're looking for that. The other area, I'm just going to give you the deficit ones. Yeah, the public health, we had originally budgeted for this. We included a 5% increase for them, which is kind of average of what they did. They did about a 10% increase when they finally gave us the budget because they didn't finish their budget long after we had actually approved ours. So that's the 5,250. That's the difference between what we budgeted and what they came out with. And the last area that I'm looking for mid-year transfer for operational budgets is the 20,000 for the grounds maintenance. This is Parks and Grounds. They have been asked to put porta potties in a lot of different places right now. The price for those have tripled in cost from what they were at the end of last fiscal year. Also, we did a lot of work with some sidewalks. Well, to be able to do some of the sidewalk works that our past engineer was doing, we had to have tree people come in and remove some trees. That wasn't planned for in their budget. They're almost through all of their money for tree removal. They also did work, I think, over near the tower to remove some trees and stuff like that. That wasn't planned for. We have a good storm. they're gonna be out of money to do any kind of tree work. So that was included in that one also. At the bottom line, I'm looking conservatively, us coming in expenditure wise, 329,000 favorable. That's, me being conservative and saying nothing bad happens, knock on wood. We haven't had any major storms though. We haven't seen what's gonna happen with fuel cost. So it's all iffy. I did not put anything much favorable for highway simply because of that, because I wanted to be conservative just in case something came up. But that's where we're seeing right now. We also, I may have to come back at the end of the year for other transfers because we've had so many shifts in personnel. I won't know until they're filled where we're gonna end up. I'm projecting favorably on this, but in a conservative manner, but I just won't know until we get all the positions filled where we'll end up in some of these departments. Some of the smaller departments like engineering, there's not a huge budget there. So depending on what we have to do to replace like our prior engineer, what path we take will determine if I'll need to move any money into that department or not. In the memo, you'll also notice, so all of these transfers that I'm requesting total 66,720. I'm looking to get those from the contingency fund, which started with a balance of 200,000, still has 200,000. That's the one request. The second request you'll see down there, this is a transfer that we've done in prior years. This is the last of our bond premium that we move over from the bond account over into our operational fund to pay some of the interest on our bonds. So we budget lower knowing we had that other interest, but this is the very last we have from the last time we went out to bond sale, which was over 2 years ago. So we will be going out this coming spring for the first bond sale for the work on Anna Reynolds. So I don't know if we'll get additional premium then, but if not, this is the last transfer over to help out our budget. I am not planning in our budget any kind of premium to help with the interest payments this coming year. Okay. And the last request you see there, this came from Parks and Grounds. They are looking to get a GPS-driven line striping machine. They're looking to use funds that they have left over in some of their CIP accounts, namely Clem Lemire Lighting and the Beechwood Park. These are both projects that they've completed to purchase this line painting machine for $45,000. It's kind of cool when they were describing it. It's a great time saver that you literally put in the dimensions of the field and the area and you press go and off it goes.
Whoa.
It is kind of, is a great time saver and
Right.
everything's straight. Unlike having a person who might walk it and if they go off back, they have to like kind of, and then go back over. So
Send it over to Maple Hill, right?
yeah, maybe just road stripes. I don't know. But yeah, this was a request they made and we thought the fact that it would gain quite a bit of efficiency and save them time and be more precise was something that we were looking for, along with the fact that they had the funds available and we just need to transfer them for us. So, as an FYI on this one, this piece of equipment will then go into the equipment reserve for replacement within the CIP budget. So their first step has to be to purchase it, and then next year you'll see it show up on the list.
What's the lifespan?
The lifespan, I want to say he said 10 to 20 years, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Thanks.
I've got to ask Bill Moore on that one when we add it to the list. That's my full list of transfers.
Okay, we have a
And
couple of
updates
hands
on-
up. Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Just a question going back to the general fund about that 1.4 on the town property. Two questions. And I know you've been busy, James, I get it. So if we don't have that tonight, I just wanted to keep bookmarking the discussion about the appraisal for that property. I think it was speculated that we may have had a copy of an appraisal. And
I did make the confirmation on that. It was not an appraisal that was held on it. We actually utilized the assessment of the property that we've had it under since 2008 when we took it.
okay, that's disappointing, but not surprising. And then the 1.4 million, is that including the 500,000 that the town is on the hook for remediation?
Yeah.
That was in the sale
No, the
Contract.
500,000 that from remediation, we've already got that appropriated in an expense account. One is in the grant account that we had from the state, and they're allowing us to use, that's about 272,000 of those remaining funds to remediate, and the rest of it is within a CIP account that we already have.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Badranko?
Sure, these are very basic questions. Just curious, there was, more than almost double in input in the building permit fees. Is that due to that?
To everything going on, the constructions.
Those weren't anticipated last year.
He couldn't time when they were gonna start. A lot of them, we were doing the budget, he wasn't sure, so we stayed on the conservative side. But everything started rolling and they all started going along pretty quickly.
It's a positive, it's a positive figure. And then just also when you're talking about, under the expenditures, regarding, apparently this is for the police, we might have to pay fees to other organizations for some experienced officers that we'd be hiring.
That one is not within I was saying in the future, we might need to transfer that. What ends up happening is if, by state statute, if you have a number of years of experience with it under, I think it's 2 years, I can't even remember the number of years, but if you haven't given that town that trained you, that started you, a certain number of period of service years before you leave, that whatever town hires you has to pay half your salary and training expenses from when you were with that town.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so it depends on who we hire. And then I know, again, because of our staff shortages in the police department and the fact that there's an awful lot of activity going on in town, it says the overtime budget is high at this time, but yet you still anticipate that there won't.
Because of all the vacancies that are out there. They started the year, I think, with 7 or 8 vacancies. So that full-time staff that you had there, and then they still have 4 vacancies now, going back up to 5, I believe we just had another resignation.
But it doesn't look like.
They're not, that full-time salary is gonna offset the overtime.
Great, okay, thank you.
I don't think they'll get them all filled like that.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We had Chief Clark on, talked to the mayor last night, and Steve Parker asked kind of everybody that was on, what's your wish for the new year? And Chief Clark's wish was just to be at full staff.
Yeah.
Because they're doing everything they possibly can to get there. And they're, he's confident now that he's got a few that just got hired and he's feeling a little better, but he's still not at full staff. And not that we ever really are full, we have people out for medical or for, different reasons along the way, but it's just gotten more and more challenging, And he was really pretty honest about that last night. So.
Working with James diligently to try to find new ways to entice, to retain, to recruit.
Right.
It's tough. Most towns are having a difficult time.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think it's Newington.
Yeah, it's
for
not
sure.
easy.
Yeah.
He also was very adamant about stating, even though he hired somebody, they've got 6 months of academy.
Right.
And 3 months
training.
FTO,
Yep.
field training, before they're actually out on their own.
So that's why a lot of the officers, no, I shouldn't say a lot of, the last couple, I think, have been more recruits, but the ones before that, because you couldn't afford that ramp up time, we did hire like a couple officers from like Hartford.
Yep.
So they had a contact there. We filched from them. Yeah.
Well, we did our incentive too, the
we did.
hire-on incentives.
Yeah, we actually just got notification of another officer going for his health check. So hopefully we will have another one coming in the hopper.
Coming back.
Okay.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
It's good news.
Any other comments or questions for Jan?
Just thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan.
We'll be meeting again soon.
We'll be seeing a lot of each other, I'm sure.
Next item this evening is the added agenda item regarding the neglected cemeteries account grant program. James, you want to take the lead on this?
I'm happy to. So just a little bit after we met for agenda setting, the state was nice enough to inform us that there's a grant program that's opening up again for the first time in 2 years.
Mhm.
It's a minor amount, it's $5,000, but it's to assist in aged cemeteries where you've got overgrowth, bushes, bramble, fences that are damaged, and also for helping with the maintenance and repair of headstones. So I currently have the cemetery staff working on the information that's required under the grant application. You'll notice the packet that I've handed to you tonight is actually blank. We're working with our grant writer as well as staff to make sure we get all the information in. The reason it's before you this evening is because as quickly as they gave it to us, it's due by February 8th.
Around, yeah.
So without going through the waiver process, which we try not to do, we can attend in this meeting to discuss it. And then on the 24th, approve it. We'll have all the certifications to the resolutions in place and be able to supply it to the Office of Policy and Management by the due date. So, and then we'll know by March 8th, I believe it is, or no, March 31st, if we'll receive the award. If there are less applicants to go for it, we may see a larger grant amount, but 5,000 is the minimum.
Okay.
So everything goes smooth. Oh, sorry, maximum, yes.
Deputy Mayor Bedrejko?
Yeah, this is great. Hopefully we will get more. Do you know if I'm assuming this will be targeted towards either the center cemetery or the one over on Church Street?
Those are the
We've
two
been
that they're looking
neglected.
at. They worked with a previous vendor before on some maintenance in the cemetery, so they're utilizing them as well this time for information and pulling that all together. But
They have significant historic value for a town that we're not really maintaining well at a health center. That's great, thank you.
Any other council comment or question? Councilor Nagel?
Yeah, briefly, I discussed previously concerning this, in this council meeting briefly. It's entitled the 2023 Neglected Cemetery Account Grant Program. It does not mean that our cemeteries are in total disrepair. There are things that need to be done, and it is the title that the state chose to use. So I hope no one gets misled by the title. It's monies coming in. There is always need for more monies because nature does what it does to headstones, hopefully just nature, and to the roads within cemeteries and bushes and grass. They grow as they will. So I wanted to emphasize that. So there wouldn't be a mistake on the part, especially of the public.
Okay, thank you. Very good point. Anyone else? All right, we'll continue on then. We are moving into written and oral communications from the town manager, Mr. Popinski.
I will start with the most important one that I consider of the night at this moment. This evening, around 3:30, well, this afternoon around 3:30, we did experience a small bus accident. It took place near 8th Street. The bus itself was hit head-on by another vehicle. There's damage to the bumper. The car sustained major damage. All the students on board are fine. Little frazzled by it, but luckily nobody was injured during it. They will be monitoring the students during that. I was lucky enough, I received this by the superintendent at 6:13 this afternoon. So I was happy to hear that. I was concerned whether or not it was one of our newer or older buses. It makes a big difference on replacement costs as well and what we have left in our fund. So we can, I'll be touching base with the superintendent just to see where they're at on this tomorrow, but I wanted to make sure council was aware of it. Also regarding the school system, on December 25th, we did have a small flooding incident due to a door that flew open from the courtyard due to the extreme cold that we had during that week.
That was at the high school?
That was at the high school. There was damage to carpeting, flooring, ceiling tiles, hallway flooring, and the bathroom that's adjacent to their conference room. At this point, there was also an area that had storage for paper that was also damaged. They estimate this incident was approximately $23,000 to $25,000. We have a $10,000 deductible that needs to be met as well. The conversation I had with the superintendent indicated they would be pulling that from additional funds that they currently have. So that will be taken care of. Our new, and I'll touch base on that after, but our new Director of Administrative Services is aware of the claim. So she is monitoring that through KERMA. So they did go over the investigation. It does appear that the door itself just wasn't properly closed. Can't say how long it had been open, but obviously due to the extreme cold, that did cause some issues. The understanding is it is cleaned up. I can't say whether or not the inspector had been out there to verify that first. So that is something we'll be touching base with with Kermis directly on. And I do have a claim number on that, which makes me happy. Not for the incident, but for the information, it does help. We have a better tracking on it. Let's see, as most of you are aware, tomorrow we do have a consultant PIM, professional public information gathering meeting, which will take place at the Senior Center at 7 p.m. Our town consultant for the town manager search came on board. The contract was executed and they arrived this week on Monday. They've been meeting with department heads. We had a public session for employees as well this afternoon, and then meeting with council members as well. Hopefully they're getting a lot of good information, which is helpful. That will allow them to design the recruitment paperwork that will be placed out for prospective candidates to apply for regarding the town. As we discussed, the neglected cemeteries discretional funding grant, we'll have that in time. National Welding, as we discussed also before, there is no appraisal, unfortunately, on that, primarily based upon the fact that it was a brownfield site. So the assessment that we placed on it at that time and what's changed over our latest grand list and reval that took place in 2020 would have adjusted for any rate with that. Also based upon any cost that we'd still need to take on regarding the remediation. In this case, we're preferring to transfer that to the developer and assist them in that process. The EPA 60-day letter has been sent to them, and the update on the DECD budget, which we needed to revise based upon some changes, has been sent in. We are just waiting on a response back from them on that. As many of you may or may not know, Jeff Barron has retired from us after 39.5 years. He's looking forward to attending many baseball games. We had a little party for him on his second to last day and presented him with a clock in recognition of his time with the town. In addition, on December 27th, Ms. Rhines joined us in his replacement. Which she will be introduced to you at the 24th meeting. She'll be present. She comes to us from Madison doing the same position. She's literally hit the ground running. We had an incident just before the, January 1st where we were concerned that we would not be able to place insurance coverage for Indian Hill. We were lucky enough that she caught that in time, contacted our agent, confirmed that the standing insurance committee had taken action, and we were able to place that coverage and make sure the town and Indian Hill were both covered. So it was an excellent job on her part. She's been going through the office and consolidating records and moving over into the actual administrative suite where Mr. Barron was a little further away. So we'll have a little bit better interaction with her going forward. We have executed again our contract with Sonic Group for grant writing services. So they'll be part of this grant, and there's a few other ones that are going on with Parks and Recreation as well as the fire department. So you'll be seeing some information on those at the next meeting and the overview of their last quarter's projects that were completed. Another item that we do have out there, and it's on our website, we are currently soliciting for Volunteer of the Year candidates for 2023. The application is online. Anybody thinks that they have an individual who's gone above and beyond to be recognized, please go on our site. It is due by January 27th, so we've got about 2 weeks, and we can get that taken care of. And of course, the one thing everybody always loves, it's supplemental and mid-year tax bills, due by February 2nd to avoid any additional interest. Sorry,
I paid my
February
$8.93 today.
February 1st, February 2nd, you've got interest. I can't do anything about that.
February 1st, right?
So, beyond that, that is all I have. And I will address the trash and blight issues. We have been talking about a website refresh and update. So hopefully we'll be able to get better information out there that's accessible to the public. And I will look into those little issues that we have along the Berlin Turnpike over the rest of this week. I will respond to council members so they are aware of it.
Okay.
That is all I have.
Great. Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. Just one question, James.
Sure.
Will the public session have a phone in or Zoom link?
We
for-
are having a Zoom link. It actually is on the website. So you can go in through our calendar link. It's also on the virtual
I
meeting
just want to
page.
point that out for seniors or disabled or people afraid of COVID or whatever.
Yeah, I did receive a request asking about that and I had planned on it.
Okay.
The difficulty for us is the fact that it's being held in our cafeteria over there and we don't have a technology set up. So luckily the library purchased what's called an OWL system, which is a portable system we can take anywhere. We connect into a computer and it does an automatic tracking. So we will be utilizing that system tomorrow and be able to stream it as well as record it for people to go back and watch. And they can, of course, still send us comments by email or even contact our consultant directly if necessary.
Counselor Rada?
Yeah, just one quick question. I called a week ago, maybe. I had, it was an old exercise machine that I put out front. I called the bulky waste people and asked them, you know, could they come and pick it up? Made the payment. And what she told me, I'm trying to remember what the dates are, but whatever dates we have for calling in, if it's metal, it's a different time frame, which I didn't find out until I called. Oh, if you had just called me 2 days earlier, we could have picked. So I think if we could just make that adjustment and clarify that on the website so that people that are calling in know that if there's anything that contains metal that needs to be picked up, they need to call by a different day of the week in order for it to be picked up during that week.
I will speak with Mr. Hillman in the morning and have the website amended or updated if we can in some way.
All right. I don't see any other hands up. We'll continue to council liaison and committee reports. Counselor Nagel?
I'll try to be brief. I have 3 committees that have met.
He says
on,
that. He says that.
Yeah, I have a hit list. CROG met on 12/21/22. They presented to the group their the legislative agenda to present to the state houses. 4 things. 1, regional storm water for the region. Shared services between towns in the region and the state. 3, infrastructure, infrastructure, especially having to do with getting matching grants as opposed to infrastructure states saying they should do and not matching funds for towns to do it. Also regional to create a regional planning commission so towns can coordinate in terms of what's done and apply for grants as a group, and also developing a metropolitan transportation plan, whatever that means. A virtual meeting with legislators was planned to present this in details, which are on the CROG website. Yesterday, I received notice that it was postponed, so that will take place in the future. Senior and Disabled Center Commission met on 1/4/23. They want to share that they are doing activities. They're open as much as possible. The gift shop is open. The coffee shop is open. Unless unforeseen things happen. The membership has agreed to forward to the town council an ordinance change. They passed a recommendation of changing their membership from 9 to 7 members. That has been suggested to us informally in the past. That will be coming to us to decide whether we want to allow them to do that and the process in which to do it, which we're available to since the charter changes were approved. 3, they approved the purchase of equipment that the library now has so they can hold hybrid meetings. Our town manager acting town manager just mentioned the service. So monies have been approved within their funds to be able to have one so the senior center can operate independently like the library has been doing successfully. Speaking of the library board met on 1/9/23. The roof repairs are continuing. They're pleased with the process, but There's still more painting and whatever to do. You can, if you have gotten tickets for the Winterfest on January 20th, it is sold out. And, but if you're lucky enough to have them, you can see the progress that has been made and the painting and whatever that's been done to spruce up the place and repair the damage. Many schools in the area have virtually or in person brought students to the library to visit it, to make them aware of what the library can offer them in terms of physical hard copy books and also other types of information that they can gather that isn't hard books. The Friends of the Library is having their next book sale, April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Contact the library in terms of how you can give a book or whatever the details are about that. And I knew you would all love for me to say this, that one of the highlights of the meeting was that now the library and the Parks and Rec Department have gotten together to offer a ukulele lessons. And you can so that, and they will have ukuleles, and they plan on a June concert.
Great.
Which I know we all want to attend. So anyone who wishes to play ukulele or learn how to do it and be involved in that program, contact either of them and they will gladly get you involved. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice.
Ukuleles are becoming very popular these days. We've got lessons at my school.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, my music teachers very enjoy it, yeah.
Who knew?
Counselor Menke.
Just two things. Counselor Rad and I attended the Parks and Rec meeting before the holidays, I think. Yeah,
That's a good way to put it, yes.
before the holidays, a while ago.
Just before the holidays.
And we just got their updated report, and no big surprises there. Counselor Page and I, we attended a flash fire commissioners meeting at
Did they flash?
2:00, and it was I think it was over by 2:10.
It was quick.
So I barely got signed in, and they were signing off again. So they did just presented their budget, and they passed it on to the town manager. So they had to take that action. So no big surprises there. That we'll get their budget with their justifications of why there's a slight increase.
And if I may, when
Sure.
you're done, just to clarify, I know I had asked the question about the cost of living adjustments for their pension, which they haven't received in, I think, 10 years. And it was suggested that in the answer that they had submitted that as part of the budget. I later spoke to folks with the fire department. They said they had not. They misunderstood my question. They had in fact included a request for some changes in the per call fees that they're requesting, which will be seen in our budget. But I'd like us to revisit the pension cost of living adjustment because I think that's the least we can do for them. But we'll visit that in budget season. So.
Okay.
And just to finish it, just the town manager search committee has we met last night with the vendor, Randy Frank Associates, and the council's meeting on an ongoing basis with them individually, and some of those have been done. And I think some of those have to be scheduled. We do have the public hearing or the public information session, I guess it's called, tomorrow, and I would just urge everybody who wants to attend that to attend. The goal is to work on a profile. It's not necessarily a job description, but it's what we want in a town manager, and then that will be then disseminated to the various town manager organizations that there are in the country and even internationally, they said, and those who go out, and then we'll start getting applications. Just as a side note, I would point out that part of our discussion, they were glad to see that we had changed the charter to remove the residency agreement because it does affect their ability to recruit qualified candidates, because that was a sticking point I think in a couple other communities where they hired people, and then the residency came up and they said, oh, I like the job and I like the community, but I don't want to live there per se. So they were happy to see we rescinded that.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilor Menke. All right, we'll move on now to public participation. Any member of the public may join us via the Zoom app if you're on Zoom. The directions are on the screen there to raise your hand if you would like to participate in the public participation window, or if you're on your phone, *9 will do the same. And we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. And let me just click over. We have Ms. Lyons.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I'm delighted for Jeff Barron that after 39 and a half years, he's finally going to have some time to himself to go to ball games or whatever he wants to do and not have to attend any more town hall renovation committee meetings. And I'm also hoping that since he has left and someone new has taken over, either he left a report as to the final costs for the town hall reno after receiving the state grant monies, and I'd just be curious to see if we were over budget, under budget, how we did, and I look forward to seeing that. I know there's no back and forth. And although I didn't have an answer to the question about writing into the town manager's contract some kind of provision where he had to live, or he could write into the town manager's contract that he had to live within a certain area or certain radius of the town of Newington, I will be asking that question again on Wednesday, and I would like to know whether or not it's going to be part of the specs when they're sent out for applicants. In any case, have a good evening, and I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow night. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Next item this evening is remarks by counselors. James, I wanted to ask, I had made a note at some point, I think it was during our meeting last night. The Town Hall Rental Committee, Rose has sparked it again in me. Will we be looking to get the final report on that and finally close that out, or where are we at in that process?
That's something we're still waiting on the Board of Ed to finalize numbers and receive reimbursement from the state of Connecticut. Plus, there are a couple of issues that we're still addressing within the town hall project itself. So the chairman is not comfortable doing the final closeout report on that. We hope to have that after the testing's been done on some material that was discovered in drainage piping. And there's a couple other issues that our facility director has brought up recently that he's reviewing with the contractors that did the work.
Okay.
So once we have those issues resolved, then we'll probably expect to see it, I'm going to say, within the next 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
Give them enough time to hopefully get the state on board.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Page?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. A couple of comments. One is with the crash, and thank God everybody's okay today with the bus. And with the crash a while back on East Cedar, where terribly people lost their lives. And with the crazy driving that all of us witness every day and people at risk, and the news recently of another person struck, I guess in West Hartford, but it's happening, it seems, all over our community, our area. I would like us to look at opportunities, and I know we're in transition with staff, so this is going to take some time, to continue to look at opportunities to do traffic calming strategies, to work with our engineering people, to work with our state legislators to see if there's state monies and resources for traffic calming in and around town. That makes sense. I know people have to move around. We all go to work and go to church and go to other activities, but we need to do it safely. And as we've done the good work of growing our town and increasing the numbers by the thousands of people living and working and moving in and out of town, I think we also have to look at those quality of life issues. So I just want to bookmark that and we'll revisit that in terms of how we're making sure our pedestrians and other drivers are safe in town. The second thing I would say in response to Councilor Nagel is that I don't think it's a dirty word to say neglect. I think that, and I take responsibility because I signed off on the budget last year. I was part of neglecting our cemeteries in a budgetary sense, not staffing. Our staffing is excellent, but we have not historically, in my observation, provided the resources or the staffing to take care of our cemeteries as we should. And I think it's important to look at our mistakes and when we screw up and make it better. And we have screwed up. The Children's Cemetery was a disgrace. And thanks to the good work of the Scouts and other folks in town and private organizations, it has since been cleaned up and made the dignified area it should be. The cemetery on Church Street was a disgrace. And thanks actually to a generous donation by Dominic Payne years ago when my son participated in a Scout project there, it was made to look much better. we shouldn't have to go hat in hand to scouts or to private industry or private individuals to do what is our town's responsibility and our budgetary responsibility, which is to provide resources to make sure we're taking care of our cemeteries and all other areas of town. So we did neglect it and we're fixing it, and that's a good thing. And I think we need to be able to look at when we screw up and make it better. So that's it. Thanks, Mayor.
In terms of budget, I believe there is a cemetery fund that funds the cemeteries, correct?
We do have a perpetual cemetery fund that can be utilized. We actually do utilize it for some staff reimbursement, but it could be utilized in the other areas where it should be as well. I have to determine whether or not it specifically was created to West Meadow Cemetery or if it applied to other ones, and there are separate funds available for those. So
Okay.
something we'll be reviewing with them as they prepare the grant paperwork as well, because the state will most likely want to know what other funding we have available.
Okay. And then you'll, I'm sure, share that during budget season as well.
I will.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Anyone else? All right. Oh, Counselor Mankey.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments, and I prepared some paperwork here. But first, I'd like to just thank Human Services for their outstanding work during the holiday toy and gift distribution. Councilor Pacheco and I managed to spend some time there helping the people who came in. I guess we were called shoppers. We helped them shop, and there was a whole the multi-purpose room downstairs was filled with toys and gifts, and people who came in, they could then pick. They got the gifts they asked for, gift cards, whatever, but they also could pick all these extras to help make kids' lives a little better. And there were all kinds of stuff that I think would make most kids' eyes go fall out of their heads. And it was the generosity of our community, but also the organization of that department to staff the volunteers, and I think they did it for 3 or 4 days, from morning to evening, and I think that's pretty impressive, and I think that was a commendable effort. My other comment is directed to Councilor Page in his comments at the end of last meeting, and I know that was the 13th, so it was almost a whole month ago. But a couple things struck me, and I've done some research, and one of the things Councilor Page says, he thought that this National Welding property could have sold for $5 to $6 million. I did some research and I pulled out the largest sales of property in Newington. So I just would pass this out and make it part of the record, so we have it. I'll just take one and pass it on. These are the last. There's two there. Yeah. These are the last property sales in Newington in the near future, and it's also on the screen there. So if you want to look at it on the screen, as you can see that the biggest property that's sold in the recent history is 333 Berlin Turnpike, and that sold for $2.7 million. Just point out that's 10.76 acres, so it's a much bigger parcel of land. And then you can see that Cedar Street sold for $1.7 million at 7.58 acres, but that was also a brownfield site which hadn't been cleaned up. And I think that would affect the price if I was buying it. And then there's 712 Cedar, which sold for $1.9 million, 2.23 acres, and then 12 to 14 Fenn Road sold for $775,000. And then we have the
975.
No, I'm sorry, 975,000. I'm sorry. And then we have Meyer Cohen Way that sold for 1.4. But that is a brownfield site, and it was 3.99 acres. I think it's important that we keep that in mind, that this is a piece of property we've been trying to sell for forever. When I joined the council, this was when I drove by as a kid, this was an eyesore. It was an old abandoned building with people riding on it, and they tore the building down. They did the brownfield construction, and I think that's important to remember. That this piece of property the council had been trying to I don't want to say offload, but trying to get it off of the blight list and put it on as something we can collect taxes on and make money on it. The town shouldn't be owning property. The town should not be in the habit of owning property that just sits there. And it really is no good for anything else. You couldn't put a park there. You couldn't make it dog park, it just is inaccessible and it was not in a good site. So I think it's important to remember that. I think the staff and the council, the past council who sold the property and our professional staff did a great job of marketing it and did a great job of actually selling it. The other point that was brought up was that we took, the comment was that we took responsibility for about $500,000 to clean it up. And I know that from being on other councils, that was always our responsibility. That was not part of the deal. That was always our responsibility to spend the last bit of money to clean up the site. We hadn't done it to this point because we were waiting to see what the site was going to be used for. And in fact, that the Anthony Properties coming in and putting a parking garage floor on it means that site is encapsulated and it can't go anywhere. If someone else had brought the site and decided to put a home on it or homes on it, we would then have to remediate much further than the $500,000 that we have set aside. The $500,000 is set aside. It's as our finance director said, $2.72 is by a grant, and that's untouchable other than if this purpose. And the remaining, I think it's, if my math is correct, $228,000 is in our CIP to do that correction. Hopefully with Anthony Properties coming in and being the kind of using it for what they're using it for means we don't have to do a big, large remediation, and maybe we can get, there's even extra money left over from this process, but it won't cost us any more than as it would if someone else came in and built something else. If they were going to build, like a housing complex, we would have to remediate much further than the $500,000, and we would be on the hook for that because that was always our responsibility. That was our responsibility when we took over the site, and that was our responsibility when we signed the grant to the state to clean it up. So I just want to make those points. I think those are important for the public to remember that this is the sale is in line with other sales for the town are, and that was always our responsibility to clean up that site. It's not a negotiated cleanup. It was always part of our responsibility. And also point out, we sometimes forget that this was a long process. I can remember our economic director bringing many proposals of what could be done at that site. None of them was able to close the deal on any of those. They just all fell through, and the site was sitting there. So I think the fact that it's sold, it's going to be used for transit-oriented development. It's a great spot for that. You can get out of your apartment, you can go to your car, or if you want, get on the bus and go into Hartford or to Britain going the other way, I guess, either way, but it's a good use for the site. And I think our staff did a great job of bringing this proposal to us.
Thank you, Councilor Menke. Councilor Camillo.
Thanks, Tim. The other one is 550 Cedar. That was a dealership, and they spent $1 million for the property. They spent another $1.5 million just for the footprint of the building to clean up. There were 29 bays there. Antifreeze in the drains, oil, etc. They're dumping oil in the drains for years. And that's all they got. When they walked away, they put their hands up in the air. And then they still have a cleanup on top of that sale price. So, I mean, the welding, I knew the guy that owned it, and he just couldn't make it work. So, industrial property is taking a dive even now because there's no demand for industry. It's all being done overseas. We're chasing them out of the state with taxes, and we got to find a way to keep them here. And that's the most important thing. We have police and fire that need the biggest shot in the arm of anybody, and something to look at in the next couple of months.
Thank you. Councilor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. Just 3 points. One is the property that we're talking about that the town did not get an appraisal for had much less value prior to the busway. In fact, it's been pointed out on numerous occasions since the Dakota Properties has come on the scene that is one of the selling points of the property, which if you look at all the research on mass transit, it raises property values in and around transit-oriented development. I guess the second point would be that previous councils had put a moratorium on this, anything happening around the busway for a lot of different reasons, which is why it wasn't selling then. And I guess the third point is defend it as you want to, as you may want to. We were the property owners, or are until it's official, and we can't defend not doing what is customary and reasonable in any business practice when you have property, which is to get a third-party objective appraisal on behalf of our town residents. And this number may be absolutely spot on, Tim. I don't know anything about appraisals, so it may be spot on. But all we're doing tonight is speculating, and to me, that's not being responsible stewards of our resources, one of which being a very valuable property,
Real estate is.
a piece of property near now an increasingly valuable transit-oriented development. So I see your good points about relative value of other properties, but we cannot defend not doing due diligence and getting an appraisal on this highly valuable property and making sure we've left no stone unturned. That was not responsible governance. And I can't accept anybody trying to defend that. So, and moving forward, I would hope anything we try to sell that is ours, we do get more than one appraisal so we can look at all the options. So, thank you.
Council Mankey?
Yeah, I don't want to go back and forth, but I'm not defending anything. I'm just reporting what the sales are. Again, I have the floor, I believe. And for someone to sit here and say that this property is worth $5 to $6 million is also irresponsible, because I don't see that.
I could be right.
You could be right.
One
but-
person has the floor.
but I
Let's
don't
stay
see
that way,
that.
please.
And so I'm presenting what the property has sold at, and also the reasons why I think the sale is a good sale, and it gets it back on the tax list. So,
Thank you. All right, we will move on now to a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Councilor Camillo, seconded by Councilor Donahue. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We stand adjourned at 9:33 PM. Thank you, everyone. Not yet.